from the My Vote Counts, the plaintiff in the party funding case, is on standby to speak to us ahead of the judgment at the Constitutional Court. Janine, a very good morning to you. A judgment is due to be handed down at 10, we understand. What's your expectations?
Our expectations... Sorry, am I on...
Yes, Janine, you're live on air at the moment. Welcome to the agenda. Tell us, what's your expectations for today?
We are quite positive. In the confirmation hearing in the Constitutional Court on the 18th March, the Minister of Justice did concede to the fact that our first order that we requested, where we've asked the court to declare that information on political parties' private donations is necessary in order to make an informed vote. So based on that, but also just in terms of the general climate when it comes to corruption and the fact that there's a need for this, for legislation to address the fact that there's a secrecy surrounding private donations allocated to political parties, that the court then should be motivated to declare the judgment in our favor.
Janine, so why is it critically important for the voter to know who funds their party? How will it influence their vote?
So when it comes to a democracy, we have a right to know where political parties receive their private donations from. Even in the Constitution, Section 32 of the Constitution and Section 1D refers to the need for us to have the right to access to certain information. Section 1D actually referring to openness and accountability, where Section 32 specifically deals with the right of a citizen to have access to political parties' private donations, because we need to be able to evaluate political parties' corporate relationships and where they receive their money from corporates and wealthy individuals, because the issue in South Africa is that wealthy elites have been able to influence political parties at the expense of the electorate and voters who just have power to determine political parties who are represented through voting and making an X on in the ballot box. But we are saying that the vote is undermined and there's a need to make an informed vote. So therefore, we are arguing that this information is necessary in order to make an informed vote.
But you're not ruling out the fact that parties need to be funded somehow, isn't it? So you're not against all funding?
Yes, we're not against private funding. We just want a healthy funding regime and for there to be disclosure regularly and systematically. We understand the need for political parties to receive private donations and that they could be constrained for funding, and that they've argued in the past that they're not receiving sufficient amount of public funding. But we are saying, okay, you can receive private donations, but please inform us where you receive the private donations from and how much donors are allocating to you.
So let me throw this at you, Janine. If the judgment handed down this morning goes against your application, what's your plan of action?
First of all, I'm not Janine, I'm Zahira. But if it is not handed down in our favor, we will then go back to the High Court, or we will fight until we can get what we've asked for, because it's in a democracy, when it comes to transparency and accountability, is imperative, and that we are able to have access to this information. So we will continue the fight for as long as we have to, until we get what we've asked for.
Shahira, I do beg your pardon with regards to the name, but in terms of how does your campaign for private donors to disclose contribute to the consolidation of South Africa's democracy and transparency in general? Please emphasize that point.
Sorry, I cannot hear you clearly.
In terms of how, the transparency in our democracy will be affected if voters know this, emphasize that point.
Well, we have emphasized that point in our application. When it comes to United Nations agreement and African Union agreements, we have signed certain agreements acknowledging that information on political parties' private donations is necessary to tackle corruption. There are certain corruption universal agreements that we're signatory to, and it's been 20 odd years into a democracy, and the fact that we don't have legislation shows that there's a huge gap when it comes to transparency. And we think that this, legislation that even if we have a bill, the political party funding bill, or if we win today, that will assist us in eventually getting the information that we want. It's taken a very long time, and it's long overdue.
Shahira, from your work on the ground, would you say an average voter cares about who funds their political party?
The issue is that when it comes to the average citizen, I think that there's not enough awareness, although it is our responsibility as an NGO to try and make the public aware. But civil society has been campaigning for this for a long time, and we think that if this information is disclosed, it would reveal a lot about political parties, and the public would be very interested if we're able to see what relationships political parties have with corporates and wealthy individuals. We think that there's just not enough awareness, and if this information disclosure of parties' private donations comes to light, there'll be a lot of attention on it, because it could potentially reveal corrupt relationships that political parties have with big money.
So I guess the big question is, Shahira, the 2019 elections are just over 10 months away. How do you see the amendment of the Promotion of Access to Information Act being impacted?
Sorry, can you just repeat that question?
With the elections just around the corner, do you think this is going to be implemented in time? How do you think the Promotion of Access to Information Act is going to be impacted?
If the judgment is in our favour, then the court will give Parliament 18 months to remedy the defects of PAIA. So that means it would be an extensive amount of time, within 2 years, that Parliament will be expected to remedy the defects. But they don't have to remedy the defects just through amending PAIA. There's also the political party funding bill. As you know, yesterday we were before the NCOP, where we suggested amendments. And we've requested that the NCOP seriously consider their role in speedily implementing this bill. But we are concerned that there would be delays, and that they perhaps the bill won't be passed or implementable before the 2019 elections, although we hope that it can be passed and effective before the 2019 elections.
Okay, we'll keep in touch with you as the day progresses. Shahira from My Vote Counts, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.